Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for the chapters that make up volume 11 of The Promised Neverland. We're covering chapters 89 to 97 here. Obviously this is again another group of chapters that haven't been released in the actual English volume yet, but these are the chapters that are going to be in it. So where we pick up with this is that obviously Lubis's mask has just been broken. All of the other demons that are kind of part of this kind of hunting group have been killed, so the focus is completely on Lubis. There's still a sense of like everyone's sort of like getting back into the fight against Lubis, so it's a little against the odds still, and that's kind of where we pick up kind of straight away. With the idea of that just getting the mask off is not the instant victory, that the fight sort of begins here. And they get across the idea that the immediate thing that they have to do to stop him and take away just the advantage that he has is to take away his senses. So we see a flash bomb tossed in straight away, which blinds him completely and allows them to do at least start to do some damage to him. We see Pepe actually takes a hit to the shoulder here because it's revealed that his hearing is still fairly okay, and Pepe just kind of gets caught out by this. But Lubis is now up against so many people, like the guy from the shelters on the roof sniping him. There's guns all over the place. He is taking some hits, but we see that just the power of Lubis, as he basically can destroy these houses with one blow if he really wants to. So that's what he sort of starts to do here. He gets his hat back on, and even though he's still sort of blinded, which we get for these kind of couple of fights, this is the dynamic of this fight going forward. It's, can they defeat him before the blinding effect wears off? That's the only chance that they have, but they're still up against it because he can still hear what's going on and react quickly, and if they get hit, they're pretty much done for. That's the kind of idea that they're going for here. That's what basically continues to happen as we go through. In that sense, like it's so focused on the fighting and action of everything that's going on, that there's not a ton to talk about with regards to the dialogue here. Towards the start of this chapter, we do get the guy from the shelter kind of feeling like, oh, it's not going right. And he sort of begins to panic a little bit, but it's Emma who actually gives him the confidence that there still has to be a way we can do this. People will sacrifice themselves, that if we try to leave now, people are going to die, but if we take him now, that's the only way we can actually do it. And she kind of gives everyone the hope that, they found the way to get to the human world, that this is how they can change it, by getting out of this hunting ground with everyone. So, Emma to this guy basically making it clear she wants to save everyone. And the notable thing here is that he says that she's annoying, of course, but he finally calls her by her name. He says, "Fine, Emma, I'll do as you say." And this is where the deal is made, where he says, I'll tell you my name if we defeat Lubis and get out of Goldie Pond safely. Ray also kind of gets across the idea that he should be killable, that he has a core, he has the same weaknesses as all the other demons do, so that should be possible. Emma then begins to bring up this idea that he didn't heal his hand immediately when he was hit, and this kind of sparks the kind of idea of, okay, so this is a potential idea, that there is a disadvantage to regeneration. It's not just a natural thing that the demons do, it is something they choose to do. So they kind of figure out there is a limitation to the amount of regeneration that can be done. And they also figure out that younger demons have like insane levels of regeneration, but it does slow down like on actual humans as we age. So that's what they kind of get across the idea. And the way they approach it now from here is like, we'll shoot him, we'll aim for the eyes, but even if you miss, make sure to get a hit. Give him as many wounds as possible, because they figure that they can overload his regeneration, and if they happen to hit his eye, that's great as they win. So some pretty cool sequences here as Lubis rushes into the house. They open fire on him with all the guns. They're like blocking with like tables and stuff like that. And there's some very cool sequences here, like in the kind of hall of the house. It's just this just hail of gunfire from everyone being shot at him, and he's getting hit every so often. He realizes exactly what they're doing, and it continues to impress him that they're coming at him in the exact way that he wanted. That this is a true hunt with not just the kids being shipped to them in containers. This is a true hunt, exactly what he wanted. So that's pretty cool. And as it seems like he's finally going to go on the counter-offensive, Adam makes his kind of entrance into the battle by throwing basically a chunk of a house at him, I suppose, revealing that, as we sort of expected, super strength is sort of his kind of ability. So he just comes in, he's quoting 22194, 22194 over and over again. As we move into the next chapter, 92. And this is a kind of turning point in the fight here, as like Adam kind of continues to throw Lubis around. They get an opportunity to shoot at him while he's in the air. He's again taking damage this entire time, but his regeneration is working all right. And his senses are gradually sort of beginning to return. He talks about the reason he's in such a bad situation is because the electrocution from a couple of chapters ago actually meant that he had to regenerate basically every cell in his entire body to stop himself from being killed. The fact that he has to regenerate his eyes, that's a very delicate area, and that's very slow to regenerate. So they've played this kind of perfectly from his perspective. But he says that he's not going to get defeated here. He'll wait until he can see again, and that's when he'll go on the counterattack. And we see Adam also rush into action as well. And it's here he figures out that sort of Adam is sort of a simpleton, as he calls him, and that he can sort of manipulate him a bit by forcing him to throw the big objects at things that he doesn't want to. So like he nearly has Adam kill Emma with a column that he throws and so on. But as this is all happening, Lubis kicks Adam into a house, and this is the house that the guy from the shelter is standing on. He ends up sort of slipping. He barely catches on as all of this is happening. Everyone opens fire, but Lubis actually manages to get the advantage over Emma and stabs her through the stomach, and it seems like it's this fatal blow. And the idea is, like a lot of the injuries that we've seen over the last kind of couple of chapters, this is meant to be a somewhat devastating blow, but not an instant kill like thing. I think they do a decent job at getting across the idea that he more kind of stabs her through the sides of her torso, so it's not directly in the center, so it potentially avoided a lot of kind of really vital organs and didn't do as much damage as it could. But still, it's this brutal injury she has suffered here, which is the kind of the key of what's going on here. The next chapter, chapter 93, is actually the end of this fight. So it's been a fairly long fight actually, but I like that it doesn't go on an exceptionally long amount of time, that they do out-tactic him ultimately. So I like that. The opening page of chapter 93 is actually quite good. It's kind of Ray kind of talking about how Emma and Norman kind of made him better. He says, "My life was cursed, but the time I spent with those two made it better. They are precious to me more than anything. Because of them, I was. As this is kind of as he watches Emma be stabbed, and this is when obviously everyone opens fire once again. He's kind of begging her to get up, and we see this sort of sequence take place, I suppose, in her mind as kind of everyone kind of watches this. She talks about how her wound is burning hot and painful. She feels sleepy. Her body won't move. It won't budge. And she has these kind of visions of obviously all of her friends, her family, including Phil kind of talks to her. Sister Crone talks to her. She she continues to say, you know, no, move, go back, I can't die, I won't die here, I can't die yet. And as she's sort of falling, I suppose, into death, like you see this kind of vision of Norman appear to kind of drag her back up. And then it's actually Mom, it's Isabella who actually is the one to, you know, pull her back up. And we see that she does stand back up, and this is where they bring the gun back into play. And this is from a while ago, so I really like the setup on this. The gun that she brought out with her from the shelter when they left all those volumes ago, the 4-barrel pistol, she finally is going to use that. And this is what gives them the true advantage. As Lubis still can't fully see yet, is dealing with all of the hail of gunfire. And we know he can block a lot of it and so on. But the thing is that he realizes just a split second too late what Emma's done here. She's fired another kind of a flash bullet, or whatever they call it. Yeah, it's another kind of flash bomb. And the idea here is that they figure out at the same time, at the end of 93 and the start of 94, you get, I suppose, you know, multiple characters figuring out what's happened here. He says, I've reacted too late. At this point, I can't prevent it from detonating. If I close my eyes, I'll take the other bullets. If I don't close my eyes, I'll be blinded and take the other bullets as well. And it means that he's lost here, as we see. What he ends up doing is just kind of not doing anything. He stands there and accepts his defeat and takes the hit to the eye, gets, you know, riddled with bullets, and his final words are, I knew it, humans are the best, as he does finally go down. So pretty crazy fight, and it just shows like the extent to which they needed to go through to get this victory. They had to set up an entire city filled with guns, have multiple stages of planning, and he just went in there not knowing what to expect and still nearly beat them. So, you know, really, really incredible kind of on his part to show just the extent of like these high-level demons. If they fought multiple at once, like if Bayon was there with him, this would have been so bad. So their plan to separate them and take them out one by one has worked because of this. So yeah, we at the start of the next chapter we get a recap of the death of Lubis, including an interesting like kind of flashback sequence of basically, I suppose, his life flashing before his eyes, and you can see all these kind of moments of like the promise and the past. But he actually has a memory of Sanju and Mujika, which is I think is pretty interesting. Him, you know, thinking of them before he dies. But I suppose we'll get to that later on. And yeah, we see the victory. Everyone kind of celebrates all of this. We see that for the most part, you know, Adam is okay. He got smashed into a wall, but he is okay in the aftermath of this. Emma has the injury, of course, and collapses again, as expected. And we cut back to, I suppose, where everyone else is injured, the likes of Oliver, who was stabbed by Bayon, and we have Zach, and so on. Sandy, I think, is there as well. The people have been injured over the course of these fights. It is revealed that everyone is alive. No one has died, and for the most part, at this point, Emma is the only one in danger of actually dying, basically, in the aftermath of this. And as the guy from the shelter actually brings Emma in on his back, and this is where we get the reunion between the guy from the shelter and Lucas. So I love that they kept this for this moment. Lucas was back with the wounded, helping them, like performing bits of surgery, and this is the moment where they finally reunite. He's bringing Emma into safety. They kind of spot each other. They have a quick, you know, hug, but they realize they have to deal with the fact that Emma's been like really badly injured. They also get across the idea that you know, we need to get out of here quickly because there are still minions and other demons in Bayon's mansion who didn't join the hunt this time, so that they are on a little bit of a kind of time crunch here. They've taken out the big guys, but there are still some demons out there, and they're a bit disorganized in the aftermath of this all happening. So this is where we basically get the idea of like Emma needs a blood transfusion, and they pretty much need to get back to the shelter to fully fix her. Ray is kind of panicking a bit here, and this is where like this, and in the next chapter they do this thing where like Oliver basically says, leave us behind, leave the wounded behind, and just take the fastest route that you need to get Emma to safety. And that's what they do in the next chapter here. It's this kind of big, discussion about all of this. It's Oliver again having so much to thank Lucas for, that he wants to do something for him. And in his mind, it's this. He says, just as I said, excluding Emma, there are 7 of us who are severely injured. Leave us behind here. That would solve everything. Those 2 could take Emma via the shortest route, and everyone else could take the safe route you came by, the one that takes 3 weeks. And he doesn't want to do this, but they know it might actually be the only way to go about it. And he says, we don't want to be a hindrance for you, everyone, and Emma to live. Please leave us behind. And we're getting across the idea of just like how much of a parent he feels like to the kids that he helped to save from Goldie Pond. And it's Ray who actually breaks the silence of all of this and says, we're not leaving anyone behind. I'm going to save Emma. We're all going home. So you see Ray kind of picking up like the mantle that Emma always kind of promotes. The thing that he was against earlier on in the series with the initial plan to escape the house, he's now the one being like, no, we have to do this. We have to do things Emma's way. And that shows good development, continued development on Ray's part, that he is now taking up that more emotional, kind of idealistic point of view. He says, I'll go with Nigel and Violet to take everyone to the shelter safely. And he entrusts the old man, as he calls him, the guy from the shelter, to take Emma back himself, because he's obviously the best in terms of physicality to just carry Emma easily and then get her back there as quick as possible. So they are going to get everyone, all of the injured, back. That's Ray's kind of plan. So the likes of like Gillian and Oliver are going to be okay in all of this. The last resort, this was mentioned a few chapters ago. Nigel is given Emma's pen to go and basically execute the last resort here. So he goes down into the place where the monitor is, where they went to. Obviously the elevator to the human world is broken, but there was a self-destruct, emergency destruction kind of sequence there. Nigel activates that and they have half an hour to leave. So they do that, and that's kind of what this chapter basically ends with. We get January 29, 2046, Goldie Pond Hunting Ground destroyed, as basically they take out one of the layers of Goldie Pond here, which results in the like civilization basically crashing into the lake, which is another one of the layers. So, it's the full kind of victory in this situation. So very, very cool. So we then, as we start the next chapter, we see obviously the guy from the shelter rushing through the forest with Emma on his back as quickly as possible. He is now kind of completely like, he's completely on board with her plan and her kind of idealism. He's like, you're going back to your family, right? And you want to know my name, so don't die on me. So we then cut back to the shelter, and we see obviously Gilda and Dawn are the ones kind of running things back there as the oldest. And this is when the guy comes back. And this is when they bring back the idea that the rest of them haven't had any communication. They really have no idea what exactly has been going on since that's happened. Like, they went out just to kind of like hunt and kind of look for stuff. They don't really know the whole hunting ground thing happened. So you go back to the deal that kind of was made basically with Gilda of like, if you come back and like they're dead, I'm gonna blow up the shelter. I don't care what you say, because they still are a little antagonistic towards him because of the way he was. We've had development, but it's mainly been between Ray and the guy from the shelter and Emma from the guy from the shelter, not the rest. So when they see Emma come in and she's like half dead, immediately Gilda gets the detonator out and is like, if you still plan to kill the rest of my siblings, I'm gonna do this. And he's kind of panicking here because it's like, wait, you don't know what's happening, but he can't really explain it all that well. thankfully, I think it's Anna checks her pulse and is like, she's still alive, and he gets a chance to sort of explain things. He's like, okay, which ones are Don and Dominic? I need your blood for a transfusion. And they kind of, I suppose, Gilda sees his panic at trying to save her, and she jumps into action to get some medical equipment. So, that sort of resolved that. As everyone else is kind of being brought back, we cut to like Ray guiding the rest of them home, and then we cut to it ends up being revealed. It's like 4 weeks later, and Emma is in bed. She has like an IV drip and stuff like that. She doesn't know what's going on, but then she's immediately greeted by the room filled with everyone is basically on panel here. Everyone except the guy from the shelter. So you now have, I suppose, in a way, the union of both the Goldie Pond kids and the escapees. So huge, bigger family now for Emma, and they're all sort of linked in a way through her because she's the one who has the main connection between both groups. So it's a really kind of powerful kind of image here of just Emma in bed, Ray kind of holding her hand, and then everyone's some people are crying, some people are happy she's back up, and the idea is that, of course, everyone on her side of things is happy that she's back, and the Goldie Pond people are like happy that their savior has survived all of this. So really, really cool moment. And then this is when the guy from the shelter comes in and reveals they do this thing. It's a proper introduction. Emma says, "To reintroduce myself, I'm Emma. What's your name?" And he says, "My name is Yugo." Yugo. So finally we have a name for him, which makes things just so much easier to refer to him as Yugo. And everyone's like, sounds weird, doesn't it? But that's his name. This is where it's revealed 4 weeks has passed, and that's how long she's been out, and she has to start eating again. And she reveals then by the end of the chapter that she's going to reveal all the information that she and Lucas found out using the pen down in the other place. "We're going to get Phil and the rest of them. I want you to hear my plan," as she takes out the pen. And then that's what the last chapter of this volume 97, that's what it's all about. Revealing the full details of this. So they catch us up with, of course, where Lucas and Emma got this information from, and they basically just fast forward through the reveal of it. They all see the kind of hologram projection of everything, and they get the reveals all at once. Mr. Minerva's already dead. The way to the other world was an elevator above the pond. There was a passageway at Gracefield House. Passageways, the supporters, blueprints of the farms, the Lambda Project, the 7 walls, all of these things that we now know about, instructions on how to get in touch with the supporters, how they can go to the human world, everything basically. So it's all revealed there. Ray brings up the Ratri clan here as the enemies here, the people that they need to kind of avoid all of this about. And yeah, they figure it all out. It's here. It means the Ratri family and the traitor who killed Mr. Minerva will come after us with full force. So under these conditions, even if we go to the human world, our safety won't be guaranteed. The passageway in the farm is probably managed by the Ratri family too. And another issue is whether the human world knows of us. Even if we get there, would they accept us? We're going to break the promise to go there. If they realize that, the demons might come after us too. And worst case, we might cause another war between the two worlds. And that's not what Emma wants. She doesn't want a war. And she says, and what I want is the release of everyone at Gracefield House. And then she says that she wants everyone. Where does she say it specifically? Yeah, the next page. I want to free all of the children, not just Gracefield, but Glory Bell, Grand Valley, and the last farm, Goodwill Ridge, mass production farms, the new farm Lambda, where Adam may have come from. She wants all of them gone, and she wants to create a world where children aren't food, and everyone will support this. She says, we have to find the 7 walls and make a new promise with him, the leader of the demons, or whatever it is. Again, I really don't know what they're expecting us to do with the pronunciation of that. I assume it's just a weird sound or something like that. So yeah, a new promise is the kind of ultimate idea, something that where the negotiation will be different. And they go through a little bit of the kind of details here. He is a being who stands above all demons and is past the 7 walls. Even if we make a new promise with him, we can safely go to the world without demons, but how do they get to the seven walls? What's the secret behind it? What's the specifics? So, you know, it's ultimately revealing they don't know the full specifics, but it's also said here, the other promise that was made. So there is this whole other promise as well that they don't fully know about. And she asks, will you still come with me? And everyone agrees, of course. They're all supporting of this. And yeah, so then Ray kind of sums it all up. We have to do these 5 things. Get in touch with the supporters, find the 7 walls, meet with him, make a new promise, and return to get Phil and the others to go to the human world. We have to do all of this as soon as possible, but definitely within two years. And Emma's like, we can do it, but then first we better find out if we can contact the supporters or not. Emma says, hold on, I have to tell the man, I mean Hugo, and tell them about what we talked about and ask their opinion. And it's revealed he's been listening in on this, and he says, that sounds great. A world without children being eaten, do it. And the Goldie Pond kids are also fully behind this. They want to do this as well. And he's like, Hugo says, you're going to take me to the human world with you, right? Lucas also feels the same way. Everyone is coming, and we get this sort of ending sequence here of this chapter of a determined Emma. Then we cut to Mujika and Sanju in like a forest, and it's like Mujika has like realized in a way almost like what's happened, and that like Emma's sort of behind a lot of it. She says, Mujika, I'm going to do it. Then we cut to Norman for just 2 panels, a determined Norman trying to escape the Lambda farm. And then we end with Peter Rattray in front of some mass-produced humans, and it's revealed the people around him say, we finally found the body of Lord Bayon. Even his subordinates couldn't find him, right? Where was it? It was buried deep in an underground vault, and we haven't found a single corpse of the children. That's odd, they were supposed to have been hunting. Thanks, you can pull out of Goldie Pond now. You'll be in charge. Search the area diligently. The self-destruct system was activated at Goldie Pond within 2 weeks after the escape at Gracefield. I wonder if it's a coincidence, brother. Either way, I won't let them get away. Those children are necessary in this world. So, big kind of reveal here at the end. That, of course, like Peter Rattray, he obviously has these reasons for why he wants the kids to not escape properly, but that he's been told about what happened to Bayon, and of course he was sort of the one who allowed this to happen in the first place, the place to become the hunting ground. But again, I think very solid volume. Again, the first 5 chapters are mainly action, and it's fairly quickly to go through a lot of that, but it was a good action scene. I think in the anime, that is going to be a really, really cool couple of episodes covering the fight with the demons, and especially the Lubis fight. And then I actually thought the aftermath of it was done well with the activating the self-destruct sequence on it, and then even the debate about what are they going to do with all the wounded, but then Ray kind of bringing everyone together to, we're not leaving anyone behind even if they're injured. And such a nice moment of Emma waking up and everyone's there, all setting up the idea of she wants to know his name. He finally reveals it, and then setting the stage for this arc is over. Where to next? We want to do the 7 walls thing. We're not going to secretly escape. We're not going to break the promise and start a war. We want to create a new promise, and that involves doing things the special way, the hard way, basically. But they have a full plan, and now more people to do it with. So, really well done here on this one. And yeah, next week we'll cover the volume 12 chapters, and once we get going here over the next couple of weeks, we'll be quickly catching up. I think the chapters at the moment are in the mid 130s, so we're just 30 or so chapters behind at this point. So 3 or 4 weeks and we'll be caught up, which is the aim, of course, and then we'll be doing weekly chapters, which should be a little easier to do. So there are my thoughts on this volume. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on these 9 chapters. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.